Right. What's up, Blueprint family? Thank you all for joining us tonight on this Monday night. Monday night.
New week.
Yes, it is. Weekend went by fast. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. We did with our family. Went out to the park, splashed around in the water park, had fun. Fun family times. But back to business. Trying to
Help build families.
Help build families, exactly. Happy families, happy relationships. And tonight we are going to drop jewels on the topic of why the economic world favors families. This is a very important topic. So as everyone come in and settle down in their seats, first of all, I'd like to say thank you all the YouTube and Instagram viewers that we have out there, and Facebook. I always leave the Facebook people out. Sorry. It's not intentional, trust me. But yeah, we thank you all. We do this for you all, and if you all feel so inclined to, Instagram viewers, you can follow along on our YouTube channel. It's in HD. Yes, HD, high definition sound and audio. So when we talk on Instagram, you don't hear the sound that's coming from this microphone and see us in HD quality. I don't think. Yeah, no.
Instagram's resolution is a little
lower, right? So you get that 4K quality on YouTube up there. So if you want to, feel so inclined, and also to follow along in our letters and other graphics and charts and things that we show and illustrate is on YouTube. So if you feel so inclined to do so, then by all means, please do so.
But thank you for joining. You're where you're supposed to be at. Here with us. Yep. Either way.
and this is a live show. So pertaining to the topic, if you feel like asking any questions, also to have anything that you want to talk about, we ask that, tonight try to stay on topic with this one because it's very important to us. And we wanted to give all the details that we possibly can and provide insight on economics and it favoring families.
Yep. This was inspired by a question that we did receive. The question was really simple, so we don't have to bring it up on the screen this time. But it was, do the benefits of being married really pay off financially? Or are the lone wolves better off in the run? Oh, wait, better off in the long run. Okay, I'm sorry. I wonder, what's a lone wolf? I haven't heard this term before. Because I haven't really heard of it before, I'm assuming though this is just a guy who is single and doing his own thing.
Well, I'm just saying it in general. Just someone who's by themselves is out here getting it on their own.
Okay.
Getting that $55,000, $65,000, $75,000 job. And they're just getting it. And
well, why they gotta be a lone wolf?
Well, that's a figure of speech.
Okay.
So a lone wolf is somebody who's out here getting it on their own.
Okay.
That's all, pretty much.
Okay. So the question, do the benefits of being married really pay off financially?
Right. Lone wolves don't necessarily, in the biological world out in nature, lone wolves necessarily don't fare well either. Mm-hmm. So that's an analogy within itself, dealing with when we're talking about family and finances. So
and in general, you're always you're always, in my opinion, safer with someone than you would be alone, regardless of I guess how equipped you are. And it's always better to, if you're thinking of the aspect of being alone or whatnot, like it's always, in my honest opinion, we're not meant to be alone. The human species, we're really not. But so it's it's quite interesting. But I understand, I totally get this question, especially with the economy and how it is. And honestly, we have, if we're being truthful, really come into a lot of conversations with people on this is, pretty much why they're staying single and not able to start families because of the economy, and how it's impacting single people and the consequences of it, not having the same advantages of relationships, those who are in relationships and have families. So, and I totally get that. And especially because of the study that came out with India, with their population, they have a lot of arranged marriages, but even the men aren't able to participate in their culture of arranged marriages like they want to, because a lot of them don't have the income like they would,
they don't.
Want.
I think we looked that up. I forgot when we looked that up.
Not to them,
on
though, yeah.
average, their salaries that they're making, I mean, they need to be married in order to survive. You know, trying to be resourceful, and the family unit. You know, the family unit throughout time has always been a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
You know, you can talk about sharecropping and families who came out of slavery and how big those families were. So over
Right.
time, you know, families have gotten smaller and smaller and spread apart because
Yeah.
of us working outside of the home. But
Okay.
naturally, families have been a source of a labor force,
Right.
because of a lot of sharecropping and growing your foods, and then you have the you know, industrial revolution and things like that, which actually made it easier to just, you know, do farming with heavy machinery, not needing so many hands,
right,
per se. So
yeah, and if you look at like cultures in Africa where the men have multiple wives so that they can have multiple children, so that the children are working for him and his business and all of that. So
right,
same very much
right,
concept.
yeah, it's out of necessity. It's out of necessity, the reason why people have large families often at times. They do, or either they just want, you know, or in modern days, if there are large families, that comes out of want.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
also because the family is naturally within itself a resource. You have people, like you were saying, you have labor, you have, you know, time, because you have other people that have time, you know. So that's certainly a benefit within itself. But a little slightly back on to kind of topic, when you're in a relationship in general, and we're looking at the modern day age of kind of like how this look, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is shared expenses, right? So you have rent, utilities, groceries, all of that being shared within itself. This can save you a lot of money, especially if you both are working, you know, and at that time, that's a really big advantage to when you're in a healthy relationship. I don't think we've said that disclaimer yet. We are talking about healthy relationships tonight. So this would apply to the generalization of when you have a healthy and secure relationship. These are the benefits of that. So you got to say that so the outliers are understood to be outliers, you know. But yeah, that's certainly a big benefit, especially even too as a single man. Like dating is expensive. I can imagine, like, especially if you you know, you work hard, maybe long hours.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what the problem is that what the salary is of an average man and an average woman today. Does anybody know what that is? The average salary for a man today is, what was it, somewhere between 55 to 65,000, and on for women on average is 35 to 45,000. That's an average salary for folks today with this increased amount. They're making wages that equivalent to, I would say, back in like the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, to try to keep up with today's
well, not
economy.
the 50s and 60s, probably the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And that was when you could actually buy a car for like $3,000 to $5,000.
Right. Yeah.
So, in a house, you could buy a house, I've heard, for like 50,000. I think $50,000 to own a home, 40 to $50,000 to buy a brand new home. So the economic situation that we have here today is very detrimental to families and the way that they you know, take care of, right,
yeah,
and the growth of families. The economy today is detrimental to the growth of families. It is
for the single people. Yeah,
right.
If you're already, you know, single and you're trying to build a family, it makes it much harder because those wages are, we always say that, like, we feel for modern men now because they can't provide for a family on that income no more. Like, you used to be able to have and take care of your family, you know, maybe mama do her thing, you know, whatever too, but you at least were able to be a sole provider for your family based off of your income. But like now it's almost imperative that, you know, you have two good stable incomes to really make it in this economy. So if you are even a man and you're only making like 50, 60,000, you know, it can be hard to keep up with life's expenses and continually go through life.
Well, that means that you're actually working another job. So now you're working two jobs. You're working probably two full-time. I've heard two people working two full-time jobs.
Yeah.
They're doing that, or either working a part-time job, and their wife, you know, today may be working her full-time job. So they're bringing in money that way. But ultimately, what that equals is that you don't have any time. So you substitute that.
Yeah. Yeah, but in particular for single people, when you were saying about the time, like the whole dating aspect, we hit on that before too. If you're having to work two jobs just to make up for those dual incomes, it's a disadvantage for a single man just trying to even date. Like, especially because dating can be expensive too, and you're not really want to spend, too much of that money on that when you're having to, support yourself to get through life, and especially women as well too. Especially with their average income being lower, that's, a lot harder on a woman, especially if she has kids and stuff. You take in that aspect, but it's just generally the economy. If you are in a stable, happy family with two incomes that are stable, this is especially beneficial during economic downturns when jobs can be more scarce. You have two people who actually are able to come together with, secure jobs, and they're actually more likely to stay together and support each other through, healthy partners being able to support each other through if, you have like job loss or something like that. What?
Nothing.
What are you thinking?
Nothing. What's next?
Oh.
So couples who are financially stable are more likely to stay married. This is because they have less stress and conflict about money, which can be a major source of marital problems.
Yeah.
That is the number 3 reason why people get a divorce, is because of financial issues.
Yeah. Yep. And if you, though, in general are financially stable, then yeah, you are more likely to want to stay married, because getting a divorce is expensive.
Right.
Especially you're more likely to want to work through those problems and figure out like, hey, what's going on? How can we bring in third party help? Can we actually work on, fixing things, because divorce is expensive. And if you can keep your family together, or, more than ever, like look to build with your family, then it's definitely beneficial during economic, difficult times.
Right.
As always, though, we always think a spouse, being able to provide that emotional support. These are just the general aspects of, a relationship. We'll get into the benefits, of course, for the whole family in general and how it's really favored by the economic world, but especially just kind of focusing on even just a boyfriend and girlfriend, serious fiance, type relationship, that having a sense of companionship and the support during that time is really, really beneficial, especially if you are impacted with different things that may happen. What we saw during like the pandemic and stuff, like people losing family and having like, all these different things come up that they've never experienced before. If you have a spouse and someone around you, then it's certainly easier to go through these life transitions as we, go along. I think back to his question of being a lone wolf. I feel for a lone wolf during those times, because yes, the lone wolf is experiencing all these great, accomplishments being alone, but you also experience your hardships alone too. And that's really hard on the psyche of any person, to have to just go through something by themselves. So that's one of the biggest things to me I think about when it comes to a good, happy relationship. That actual companionship is really big.
So when you're in a relationship, you can work together to achieve shared goals, such as saving for a house or retirement. This can give you a sense of purpose and direction during a time of economic uncertainty.
Yes, certainly. Also the aspect of being able to do that with two people, you can meet your goals, economic goals, faster in general.
Okay, so we're going to talk about retirement, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
For sure. That's one of the major, that's the big one. I think hold on, I have that down as the main big one, because you wanted to really hit on that in particular, because that is the biggest benefit of all of this. In the long scheme of life, we all have to retire and get to old age. So that is certainly the biggest one that we'll be sure to hit on. But just going to answer this guy's question as, general as possible, because he's more so talking about, being married and in a relationship. But if you want to even just go into the deeper aspect of like families, then that's certainly how we're going to run with this and take that. If you're ready, you want to do that? I can.
Yeah. So what's next? So there are some families that struggle financially, and there are some single people who are very successful. However, in general, the economic world does favor families over singles. This is how. Number one, tax breaks. Of course, families often get tax breaks for having children, such as a children tax credit in the United States. Single people do not receive these breaks.
Yeah. I think I don't know about the new Biden tax laws. I haven't, but I've heard about them. I haven't done my own research on them, but I'm quite interested in seeing how that impacts, like, families, because it's always, single people get taxed way more than families do.
Always.
So, yeah. So it just stunts on your, your money in general. Just being single, it's a lot harder. But of course, we have to take in consideration if you do have children too, that is an expense within its own self as well.
And then government benefits. So families may also be eligible for government benefits that are not available to single people. Single people have welfare. Single women have welfare, especially with children. Yeah. Government policies that support families, such as affordable child care and paid family leave, can also help to prolong marriages. These policies can make it easier for couples to balance work and family life, which can reduce stress and conflict in the marriage. Reminds me of like paternity and what is it? Maternity and paternity leave.
Yeah.
Especially when they adopt a child or bring a new one into the world. So
yeah,
that's one of the benefits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially if you have that. You had, for all of our children, we were blessed that you were able to be off for 3 whole months. Like, that was such a blessing, you know. And in that time, it's super helpful. Those are one of those things where you love just, Is it our internet? Oh, sorry, y'all. Our live paused on Instagram. Trying to get that to connect back up. Thank y'all for being patient.
Yeah, I've got the Instagram. There we go. Yeah. We're back.
Sorry, y'all. I don't know what happened.
It's been like that all day.
Yeah, our internet's been a little weird. But it's okay. We're back in it. Thank y'all for hanging on in with us.
Yep, thank you. So let's resume.
Yep.
So next.
Oh, so yeah, we're just finishing up on the whole idea of, the family leave during that time. That's even great. And then also too, you have like sick leave for like if your spouse gets sick, you're able to.
Well, those are all jobs.
Yeah.
Mostly most jobs have sick leave and.
Well, I mean, but you can also get off for your spouse as well. Yeah, family leave for your spouse as well. If like your kids are sick and stuff like that,
But there's family personal leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. So too, that's certainly a benefit as well.
Inheritance. So also inheritance. So when a family member dies, their assets are often passed down to their spouse and children. So single people often at times do not have this advantage to pass down anything. So handling all of your last income, that will go to the state.
Yeah.
That wherever state that you reside in.
And doing the paperwork. I always think about that. When we lost my mom, like all that paperwork, me losing her young, I had no idea about the amount of paperwork that goes involved into all of that, especially if there isn't like any will or anything set in place, then you have to like go through the government for like all this new money or anything, What is it? I forget what it's called.
Probate court.
Probate court. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so make sure you have wills.
Yeah, single people. Yeah, for sure. Do that for sure. So then that way, you have all of that handled out, and the family or your friends or loved ones, whoever is close by, knows how to handle your personal. You got to file your last income taxes and all that stuff. So it's so much easier on those that are left behind after that within that. So certainly something to consider, and just being in a family also really helps that, of course.
Shared housing costs. So family can share housing costs such as rent and utilities, which can save them money. Single people typically have to pay these bills on their own, or they get roommates.
Right. Yeah, roommates. Right. And that's usually how it's the best way to go about it if you are, single. But of course, when we're talking about single parents, that's often a lot harder when you take into childcare expenses if they're not receiving help in that manner. Like, that's a lot harder. A lot of times, if there are 2 working parents, then one, spouse's income usually goes to like childcare. Also, you have like a lot of employer provided programs and stuff for families, and government subsidiaries, different things that are very beneficial for families in general for like childcare expenses. And sometimes single parents, if they aren't in a good job, it makes it a lot harder to take advantage of these benefits that would be available So especially if a lot of married couples, what I often see is like if the husband is in a better paying job, they would use the husband's insurance because the husband's insurance is better. It's more benefits that come along with it. So it's like you get more, it's like dual options in a way. So a relationship and a family really just helps you have expanded options of doing things so that, you can really mitigate life's different challenges a lot easier whenever they come.
And then also to networking opportunities. Families often have more networking opportunities than single people. This is because they are connected to their spouse's family and friends as well as their own.
Yeah.
Single people may have to work harder to build their own networks.
Yeah.
So you have a fallback in a way, especially if you lack something or need something. You can always rely on your in-laws for help. Hopefully you can rely on your in-laws.
Especially if you marry good. Yeah. That's what we're hoping. You marry good and then you'll have those benefits of actually that family to fall back on. In fact, they showed that the nuclear family was one of the prime times for like a lot of people because of the community aspect and the family being able to work together, and like if one person needs help doing something, the other family is right there to be able to help. So that's also that idea of that social support, which is very much a benefit for families and people who are in a relationship, married even too, because of if you are that lone wolf and you don't maybe have that family to depend on. I often kind of think if you're a lone wolf, like I hope you didn't have like a traumatic childhood, or you don't have family or any type of social support, because that's really hard to go through life with. We mentioned that before, but in general, you can really rely on your spouse's family, your family. The community often is really more likely to help pitch in, especially if it's a family that's struggling. A lot of people's hearts go out to families, especially if a family's house burns down or something like that. Like it's a lot of support that will want to be gathered around a family during that time. So it's really a overall benefit of just being in a family as opposed to being that lone wolf. But we understand.
And then a sense of purpose. So families can provide a sense of purpose and belonging that single people may not have. So raising children and caring for a spouse can be very rewarding. Single people may have to find ways to find meaning in their lives.
That's a little different, but that's really what that depends on. But anyways, the last one that you want to dig into for sure is that retirement security.
Yeah, retirement security. And so therefore, this may be the most important reason for being married: security during retirement and old age. And that's something that a lot of people do not think of, especially those young people in their 20s and 30s. We don't take retirement serious enough, and especially in this day and age, in this economy. Yeah. Now, I've mentioned this multiple times on our show, and we've talked about it, dealing with retirement and what it looks like and things that you need to have in your retirement plan.
Yeah.
And so aside from your IRA, your 401k, and your Social Security, which is being reduced throughout time, is always being reduced now. So moving forward, and especially with the raising inflation rates, money doesn't stretch as long as it used to. Those are all facts. So now you have to incorporate a part-time job, which means that American citizens are finding out that they are hardly ever going to retire unless you have $2.5 million saved up by the time you retire. So that is only because between the age of 65, people are living longer to the age of 95 with the rising rates of medical care and food and medicine and everything else that goes along with daily living. An average person needs anywhere between 70 to 90% of their daily income that they were making while they were working.
Yeah.
How can you make that money
and save
and retire and say that you're fully retired? You can't, unless you're actually working, or unless you actually invested, or you invested or had some sort of multiple stream of income, which you and your wife could work together to pay bills and then invest a portion of it so that it can grow until that $2.5 million that both of you can comfortably retire with. So, but unfortunately, by the time you retire, that $2.5 million is not going to be equal the same amount when you all, in present day.
Right.
So you have to take in consideration inflation. When has inflation ever went down? And as from the 90s until now, I think that statistically has been increasing, and especially after coming out of COVID. I mean, you all see these prices that are out here; it's ridiculous, especially with all the lack of laborers in the market today. So that's what's causing the issues with supply chain. A high price of gas, diesel, all of that contributes to the price of food. Your medicine. Have you all experienced any shortages in the medicine? Have you all seen increases in your healthcare this past July? I have. So these are things that's always being tried and true. But one thing is not increasing are your wages. Your wages are still the same. Our wages are still the same as far as the rates go since like the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
We're not entry level positions. How much? $45,000, $50,000, if that, 35 maybe. And that's after taxes is around $35,000, $29,000. How in the world, if you don't elevate yourself in a career or in your careers or figure out some other way where you're utilizing turning your time into money, it's going to be very hard for you to retire comfortably. And this is all just factual. How many of you all actually just thought about what retirement is going to look like when you get there? Because normally, on average, I think people who invest in their 20s and they retire by the time they're 65 and their normal retirement plans are seeing anywhere between like $350,000 to I think $450,000.
About an IRA account, like the
IRA, your 401k, and your Social Security account alone.
Right.
That's not $200. That's not $2.5 million. That's not $1 million. So where it's called your retirement gap. You have to fill in that retirement gap some way in order to capture that money that you don't have. And I've learned this through my employment. This is what they told us about retirement. So that is real now. So retirement looks like being a Walmart greeter.
Yeah.
Working
or teacher. Like a lot of baby boomers that tell them come back and be teacher.
Yeah. Or a teacher, or it's not. You're not even a real teacher. You're a substitute teacher.
Yeah.
Retirement looks like now. Those part-time jobs working at restaurants, hotel greeters or something like that. I don't know.
Delivery services, doing deliveries and stuff like that. I've heard of retired people doing that. Yeah.
But with a family, it's better. You all can work together, make a family business. You all can invest money together. You have multiple people that you can invest within arm's reach.
Yeah, certainly helps you save for retirement way faster in terms of what you're able to do with two people than just one.
Right.
Because I mean, single people, you have a lot more to save on your own to ensure a comfortable retirement than someone married does. And that's just fact of the matter. And it's hard. All of what you're saying is just showing it's a lot harder now to do that. Like our economy is not so much built on that being single and going through life as much as we wish it was. Like, and that's why I wish a lot of women too would really think about this too, because only what's the percentage of women that actually make six figures? Like it can't be no more than 10%. I'm probably pushing it, but I'm trying to be, I would sit from 6 to 10% at that. Like you need two incomes to really be able to save for retirement comfortably.
Well, and then also too, with those two incomes, you also need to actually create more. You also need to make more money as time goes on.
Yeah.
So you need to be leveling up in your careers, getting those promotions, job searching, keep progressing in those careers in order to make that $1.5 million or $2.5 million if you're both together.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that you're going to achieve that without having to work. Because who wants to? I don't want to retire and work. That's not retirement to me. I don't want to stand up for 8 hours and be a greeter.
And that's the harsh reality of it. Retirement never looked like that. People don't think about that when retirement. They think about relaxing, maybe with some grandkids if you married or whatever, or just, hanging out, chilling, doing the things you traveling wanted to do.
Right.
Now, to be completely honest, like that's a lot harder to do in this actual economy of the way things are set up.
I know retired people who are looking to work.
Yeah, unfortunately.
They're trying to figure out low stress jobs that they can work on their own schedule to work.
Because of the Social Security decrease.
Right.
Like, that's impactful. And then think about the fact that they're already talking about possibly cutting Social Security by the time we get to retirement. Like, so it's like you can't even depend on that.
They're already
going
to cut it, I think, soon here recently by like $17,000.
But I mean, get rid of it completely to where it's not even
I don't think they're going to get rid of it completely because people are still paying taxes.
Towards it. Yeah.
But Social Security is not going to look like Social Security when my grandparents were getting it.
Right.
Social Security is not going to look like today when I retire. It's not. Right. The amount of money that is put into Social Security is not going to be there like it is today. And then also to add in the rate of inflation. The dollar is not worth today the same amount that it was 10 years ago. Right. It just isn't.
And we don't know what it's going to look like.
Right, to buy a can of beans
soon, right.
10 years ago was probably about $1.50, and today is around $4 or $3.50 for I don't know how big is a 16-ounce can of beans or whatever the case may be. Probably not 16 ounce, but like 18. But you get what I'm saying. Food prices are increasing, so
yeah.
And this is just something real. The whole purpose of this is to have people to understand why families are important, and then also to reflecting on retirement and seeing what that looks like if you're single versus with a family unit that you all are working with, caring for each other, investing with each other, saving with each other, and building businesses with each other, family businesses with each other, because that is what it's going to take to prevent you all from having to work or trying to find a part-time job.
And to prevent homelessness.
Yeah.
A large rising population is women, believe it or not, on the streets because of homelessness. And that is, to me, so devastating, because that is one of the most vulnerable places for a woman to be. And to see that, like, I've never seen so much like of it now in like Richmond City, for example, than you see now, before. Like, we went to VCU, I remember seeing a lot more homeless men, during that time. But now it's men and women. And that's tough, because it used to be like a lot of shelters and stuff. Now shelters are full. Like, people just really have to consider what that looks like. And, slightly to move it a little bit more, you got to think about chronic illnesses and daily life, old age. What does that look like in retirement? We always think about, oh, we're here now, and we may be spry and fit and healthy, but we all, as we age, that just is a part of life. You're going to need help with daily life, daily tasks. You never know what may happen. And having that spouse, that family to be there during that time is really invaluable, especially if you are chronically ill. You cannot downplay how important that is to have someone there to care for you. I always think that you hear stories of people, they're in the hospital and they just think, wow, like this is a lonely moment, when you're sick and you don't have nobody there. Like, we're really genuinely not meant to be alone, and to be able to go through life with someone is certainly better, in my opinion, to being a lone wolf. Aside from the financial benefits, I think the emotional and the psychological benefits are just as, important. And it certainly helps you contribute to the economy, because if you're sick, you can't work. So, or if you're on disability, you can't work. And in a time like that, if your spouse falls and ends up on disability, then you are going to have to step up and support. But that's actually very beneficial to the economy, because, as your spouse is drawing from disability, which is not going to be near whatever, the spouse was making, because it's never close to that, unfortunately. But at least the other spouse would be able to step in and help. So, yeah. That's all I really got, though. What about you?
No, that's it.
Yeah. Well, in particular, too, I forgot one more quick thing. I guess some simple tips of if you're already married and approaching retirement. how important in particular it is to take the time to financially prepare as a married couple, talk about what finances and all that stuff looks like. I know we went on a lot for single people, but it's really important for married people to do this as well, to sit down, have that conversation of what life looks like during that time, to be able to communicate openly and honestly with each other.
Yeah, especially if you all are dating. Mm-hmm. Now, dating people normally do not talk about retirement. They don't. And throw that in there. If you're dating somebody, ask them some questions in regards to retirement. Like, what do you envision retirement looking like? And now with this information that I've equipped you with, that we've equipped you with, understanding that you at least need to retire with $1.5 million if you're single, or $2.5 million if you're married. What is the plan for you to retire safely and securely? What does that look like? Because if they're saying, well, I got a 401k, I have a Roth IRA and Social Security, let them know that that's not going to be enough. That's not enough money. And if they say that, yes, it is, then ask them, how much money do you make? Then they're going to have to be making anywhere between like $250,000 a year in order for them to say that they're going to be able to retire with that much money or more, to be honest with you. Because at the bottom of six figures really isn't going to happen either. It's not, to be honest with you. And then on average, the statistic is for the amount of people who make six figures in the United States is around 10%. It's under 10%. It's around like 9.6% or something like that.
Male and female.
Yeah, male and female combined. But I think women make up most of that six-figure income here in the United States. A lot of tradesmen out there also too make six figures, but that's unreported. But, just throwing those statistics out there, there's understanding that average people income is pretty much lower than those six-figure people. So they make up more than the 90% of the population that are out there. So as far as retirement goes, it's a real thing. So it's something that's unspoken, something that we don't normally talk about in society when it comes to families and people wanting to stay single. I want to stay single because I don't want nobody to control me or whatever the case. Well, that's fine. I'm all about free will. That's your own personal choice. But often at times what you're not looking is down the road and seeing what this looks like to you. So all these people out there who are considering not getting married, not wanting to have children, who's going to look out, who's going to look out for you in your older ages. There's something for you to think about. Or maybe you figured it out and you got this thing all wrapped up now. Hope you do. But if not, then what I'm saying is that having a family it will be more beneficial to you in those later ages of life. That's always been the case. That's always stood the test of time. You can go back 100 years that having a family, if not, they had larger families than we had today. And they were very valuable to them. That's what family was all about, was that they could reach out within arm's reach for help, someone to help them, as opposed to being out on the streets. I'm sick and tired of seeing a lot of young females homeless, and they don't have nowhere to go, no families, nothing. I mean, it's and they have too. Right, and they have children. Yeah, and men, men, and then and men who are homeless. This, like I said, is harder. It's harder. It's getting harder every day to try to maintain, maintain a comfortable living. But it's easier if you have someone that you can work with, somebody that loves you. You both love each other, and both you all are goal oriented and focused on retirement and maintaining a healthy retirement and understanding what that looks like. So.
And no relationship is perfect. We're not saying that. There are always risks involved with getting in a relationship. That's really why we do this as well, because we wouldn't advocate for families if we didn't help y'all get into that the right way, so that you don't get into those risky situations, so that you don't have to, do that trial and error of trying to figure out, is this the right thing? Is this not the right thing? This is really why we do this, because if you are in a healthy, loving relationship and you are able to have that support to be able to get through life, it can really, really be a valuable source or valuable resource during difficult times in so many different forms. So, yeah. I think that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I got too. So anybody have any questions, any remarks, any comments?
Yeah, this was a good one. I like that question. We kind of talked about it a
Do
little
the benefits of
different.
being married really pay off financially, or are the lone wolves better off in the long run? Yes, benefits of being married do pay off financially. They do, especially if you have some. I would say only if you have somebody really that you can build with. I mean, now if
Right.
your spouse is just spending and blowing money,
All right.
then no, it isn't. Of
You
course,
need a financial advisor. You got to get a third party, especially if you're married. That's why we talked about that aspect. Oh, I was saying about the aspect, even if you are married and you're not there, y'all have to communicate open and honestly, and possibly bring in a third party if you are struggling with trying to find that balance of spending habits or saving, whatever, however that looks. That's important because we can't downplay finances is certainly a hard thing for couples to get through as well. But it's lot of resources that are available for you to be able to make healthy financial decisions for yourself and for your family. And certainly if you got two people doing that together, you're certainly going to get a lot further. So that's all we're saying, and for the most part. But we understand the lone wolves. Hopefully, though, you find your pack.
right? Or create your own.
Yeah. Yes. I love that even more. Create your own. Because usually if you're a lone wolf, that's what I think about. And that's the woman in me. I'm so, I attach to the emotional aspect of what a person can be going through, in their mind. And when I think of a lone wolf, it's unfortunate because I'm like, why are you alone? Like, you don't have family, you don't have support, like that's unfortunate in my eyes.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people now in these times are choosing to be alone because they don't want to risk. They've come from trauma, bad relationships.
Yeah.
They don't want to try it no more, or whatever the case may be. But I think it's in your best interest to try.
Yeah.
Try with discernment, ask the right questions, start it slow, build with that person, making sure that that person is the right one for you.
Yeah.
There are ways to find that out. Vet that person. Let your family beat that guy up with questions, not physically, but with questions to make sure this person is for you, ladies, and vice versa for the females with the guys. And then ultimately get a prenuptial agreement that will save you in the long run. Lay it all out there. Talk about what you set your boundaries and put it in your prenuptial agreement for both of you, so that both of you all can agree on it. So that is the first form of compromise in the relationship.
And it's like your 10 commandments.
Right, exactly.
It's like your rules that you'll follow by, or at least your constraints.
Right.
You use the prenup to keep you married, not to
break you
incentivize you. Exactly.
Right. And you don't up, right. And you can't sign it unless you agree with it.
Right.
So make sure that you if
both
have your own lawyers to own separate lawyers to actually read it to you, and then make sure that you both agree with it in the same room.
Yeah.
So a prenuptial agreement can cost you anywhere between like $250 to $2,000, which is way less than the average divorce, which is like $70,000 in the United States.
Right.
So,
but when I think one last point, it made me think of older people. If you are a single older person, it is still worth it, in my opinion, to go ahead and mate and get with a spouse during that time. And this is the same things, the safeguards that you have to put in place. We did a show on dating when you're older. It's certainly more safeguards that need to be put in place, but it's certainly worth it in your retirement age to consider getting in a relationship with someone else so that you can merge your families and get through your last days together, for sure. That's important.
Hopefully it's your last years, not the last days.
Well, yeah, that's a figure of speech, but
I'm just messing.
Yeah, but of course the benefits of a relationship is it can prolong your life because of the happiness that it brings into you. So you just very well may improve the longevity of your life by finding a good mate and a spouse to make you happy and enjoy life.
That was one of our first videos talking about the health benefits of marriage. And I think we're going to redo some of those again for those people out there who just don't get it and understand that you live longer if you're married, and you don't if you're single. So
it has some
if you're happily married. Happily married.
And retirement is that great time to really enjoy life and create memories. And it's such a fulfilling time if you're able to do this with someone else and share those experiences. It'll make you guys both feel, even more special than if you were doing it alone.
So I guess that's it. So with that being said, Blueprint family, thank you all for coming out tonight. Appreciate you all. Hope you all have a wonderful week. You all have a good night. Peace.